Can you state your name, your age, and where you're from?
Yeah, my name is Margot. I am 45 years old. My birthday just passed, actually, a couple days ago, so I'm actually 44 and a half. What was the last question?
Where you're from?
Toronto, born and raised.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So, Margot, you're currently in school right now. Mm-hmm. What are you studying? Or what have you studied?
Mm-hmm. So I just finished my Master of Social Work last week, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what does that entail for people who don't know what Masters of Social Work is? And where is there a speciality of study that you particularly zeroed in on? Mm-hmm.
So a Master of Social Work is basically a continuation of a Bachelor of Social Work. Okay. And there's not necessarily a speciality. Some people do choose to do one, like in Indigenous studies or specifically in mental health.
Right.
But actually, social work is really a broad field. So you can go into medical, you can go into educational, and but obviously, I went into it so that I could go into working with other addicts, and I'm working in addictions.
Awesome, man. Mm-hmm. So, I know we were talking a little bit before, but you mentioned that you just currently wrote your master's thesis, right? What was the topic about that, and what brought you to sort of write about that topic?
Yeah, so I just wrote my thesis on addictions and stigma, and how basically addiction and the concept of the addict is kind of understood in institutions like, mental health institutions like CAMH and social work institutions, and how those conversations are led and how they're not led by people with addictions, right? How by us, and how our voices are often left out of those conversations and therefore left out of policy and left out of decisions, and how that affects people on the ground, like affects addicts on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are some of those examples that you saw that were so blatant where, like, particularly maybe some of these policies or just overall, like, overarching themes within that stigma that, like, sort of shot out to you while you're sort of doing this?
Yeah. So I would say the overarching themes are that the addict is really constructed, like the concept of addiction historically and still presently is really constructed by themes of criminality, by drug law, right? Like the war on drugs. And it's very arbitrary because sometimes drugs are legal, sometimes they're not, right? Like if I was a marijuana addict in the 80s, I would be a criminal. Right now, I'm not a criminal if I'm a marijuana addict.
You're just an average Joe on the street.
Exactly, right? Yeah. By themes of pathology, so disease, right? 100 years ago, that pathology was even more so. Like, if you're an addict 100 years ago, you may have been banished from society.
Right.
And now we just conceptualize that through the disease model. So we see addiction as a personal illness. And also through themes of responsibilization. So it's like you have an addiction, it's your responsibility to get better and become a productive member of society, right? So it's kind of like this capitalist mentality of, you're sucking, society of resources, get better and start contributing to society. So those are kind of like the three overarching themes.
Interesting.
Rather than like a healing, mental health, for example, is kind of like dominated by a healing theme. It's like we need to heal. If we have a mental health issue, it's more so like we need to heal from that, get better and heal.
Interesting. I never thought about it before where it's like that capitalist mindset. It's like you're not doing enough, do more.
Yeah.
Right? So you can contribute back to the greater picture, which is very interesting. Now, what brought you in? So you mentioned already earlier in the conversation that you were an addict before. Is that what kind of was the catalyst for you to start studying in this field and sort of getting into this field? And if so, when was that pivotal change where you're like, hey, I want to study this?
You know what? I was working in the field.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've met so many mentors along the way, and so I really have to credit them too. Yeah, and I would say that, So I was working basically frontline in this field, and there's only so much you can do. Don't get me wrong, I love frontline and I love working directly with other addicts and
Right.
being part of in that way. But after a while, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much power that we have doing that.
Right.
And so I met a lot of great mentors along the way. Shout out to Sunil. He was one of my first mentors at Renaissance Center, actually. And he suggested to me that I apply for my Bachelor of Social Work. And that's what I did. I took his suggestion and I did that. So that's how it started, for sure, yeah.
And then kind of moved over to the master side of the thing. And now I wanted to touch on a little bit before that, too, because you're an addict. You've been a part of the world, for lack of better terms. How did that start for you? When did you become an addict, or when did you know that you were an addict? Like,
that's a good question. Well, I can say that I always sensed that I was different, for sure.
Okay.
100% since childhood. I always felt on the outside of even my own family.
Okay.
But I wouldn't necessarily say I had the words to put on that, like addict.
Okay.
When did I sort of conceptualize myself as an addict? I would say probably in my early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned something there, key, that I think is a theme that we're noticing in our conversation is, why did you feel different from the rest of your family?
I felt like everyone had this rule book to life, or like instructions that was never given to me. There's a promise, and the step 9 promises, it's part of a mutual aid group, right? That some of us attend. And it says that once we start to get recovery, we will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us.
Right.
Every situation used to baffle me as a child. Like, I just felt like, I'd walk into a room, even when we went to go visit family and stuff like that. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to be in the world. I just didn't know how to be in the world. And I felt like everybody else did. What mood to be in, what mood not to be in, how to talk to people, when not to talk. And I felt everybody else knew. And then out of that sort of insecurity and fear also arose the fear that, in fact, maybe I'm just like a fraud, right? Because I don't know all these things. And it just starts to create this deep, like, soul discomfort, this constant feeling of, unease that gets more and more and more.
Did you feel judged because other people were getting it and you weren't?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, I felt judged, and I felt that people could see it. I felt that people were going to see that about me. So I had to put more effort into faking it.
Like you're walking around with bells on, right?
Totally, yeah.
Okay. Now, so, and I just wanted to touch a little bit on your family life too. Like, how was your family dynamic, right? Did you come from both parents, their siblings? How was that?
So my parents got divorced when I was young. When I was 4, they both got remarried within like 2 years.
Okay.
I have an older brother and 2 older step siblings that would come to live with us on the weekends. So I'm the youngest of 4. My parents, I primarily lived with my mother and stepfather. There was love in our family, for sure, but also chaos. Chaos, like just a lot of moving around. We constantly moved house all the time. I would say that like my parents were very much like playing house. They were very much just living their best lives. They're very spontaneous, not necessarily planning. So it was a little bit chaotic.
A little bit more free-spirited in that sense.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
My dad, he got sober when I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and did he get sober through the same means that you now are sober? Like through...
No, he is a staunch atheist. I think he's the most atheistic person I've ever met in my life. Yeah.
Okay. Complete opposite there.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, so you're coming up in your 20s now. You feel different from everybody. How did the addiction part start? Like, what did it start with? Was it drinking, weed? Where did it start for you?
It definitely started with drinking. I was at a party in the beginning of grade 10, And I remember, so at this time, I'm just like filled with social anxiety, all kinds of anxiety and self-loathing and just all kinds of fear, you name it, walking around with a bag of anxiety. And I was at this party and people were drinking and someone dared me to drink like a water glass filled with vodka, like an 8-ounce glass of vodka. And I was like, sure, why not? And to this day, I'm not sure how I managed to do it without like choking or gagging, but somehow I did. And I chugged that 8-ounce glass of vodka. And within 2 or 3 minutes, I started feeling this warm, fuzzy glow just come over my body, like, you know, and it was like every single fear, all that unease and discomfort I'd felt from since childhood just started to vanish, you know, go away. And all of a sudden I was like, I felt so at peace. I felt like connected. I felt like I could just be with my fellows, with my classmates, with my friends at peace. It was the most amazing feeling. Like I was just at ease and just part of, and I felt I was socializing, and that lasted for maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then as the alcohol kicked in, I blacked out, you know, and my friends told me I vomited all over myself. I did all kinds of, passed out in a snowbank, and it got really messy.
Right.
But the next day, when I woke up, my friends were telling me about all this. I didn't care about the mess. All I could remember was that 10 to 15 minute period of time when I was like at ease in the world. And I think that timestamp, like the heart-shaped bubble, I call it, right? Where all the good memories are inside the glowing heart. Yeah. That's all I could remember. It was like stamped in and I think I literally became a hardened alcoholic at that period of time because I chased that for years.
So it just took that one time to feel like this was it, right?
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, that's grade 10. You're progressing on later on in your life. Was alcohol the only problem? What else got involved in there?
Yeah, so from that point on, I would say that I probably was intoxicated almost every day, whether it was alcohol, so marijuana, acid. Okay. I did a lot of acid in high school. That was the thing to do in the 90s. I don't know why. It seems so extreme now, but yeah, we did a lot of acid because it was cheap, right? $5 for a hit of acid and you could be high all day long. Ecstasy, we started going to raves. Okay. Yeah.
And how was that whole rave, that party scene? Like, was that something that you gravitated towards?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Anywhere there was drugs, I gravitated towards.
Okay. And like now you're experimenting with all these drugs, right? Were you ever scared in terms of the path that you potentially were going down?
Honestly, no. Like I saw myself, I was in denial. I saw myself as this like badass, like edgy, like I'm so cool, you know, I'm doing drugs because I'm so edgy. Like that's how I saw myself. Okay. It's complete denial. Like I did not see it as problematic. I thought I was really cool. Okay. Sad to say.
Hey,
yeah.
I understand. And when, like, so later on, like after high school, like were you working? Like what did that look like sort of after your school, like in your early 20s, let's just say?
Okay. So first of all, I was primarily an A to B student all throughout school. Right. By the time high school ended, I was in advanced classes as well. I had gone down to general and basic classes, barely scraping by with like 50%. So like I was really not doing well. Then I actually enrolled in social work, in social work at Humber College, and I managed to pass. But by that time I was smoking crack, and I was actually smoking crack while going to college. I also didn't do well in college, but I passed. College for me was easier than advanced classes in high school. So for me, it wasn't hard to pass while being high. So I managed to pass. But after college was over, I would say that was like the precipice at which I just like went downhill because there was really no responsibility. I had moved out of my parents' house. I moved downtown. The first apartment that I moved into was at Sherbourne and Carleton. So you can imagine not the greatest location for, you know.
And